This video is called "The Humanist Perspective of Psychology Proves My Point Beyond Any Doubt." Some of you may wonder, well, why haven't you gone over this in the past? The answer is I have dozens of videos where I reference this perspective. I list the functional, the cognitive, the feminist, the humanist, and so on and so forth. Also called the phenomenological perspective. Now I'm going to give you two definitions. I want you to consider this very carefully. Why this proves my point about spiritual bottom feeders and mental health. The humanist perspective is an approach to psychology that emphasizes empathy and stresses the good in human behavior. In politics and social theory, this approach calls for human rights and equality. Well, that sounds all good and well, you know? It's fine. You know, hell, you could call me a humanist if it wasn't for one thing. I mean, I'm more humanist than these people, even though they don't include religion. I'll get to that in a second. In fact, I haven't even looked that up yet. Just from my memory, I know that that's what they're getting at. Humanist. Okay. Many people are humanists without even knowing it. If you are non-religious and look to science, reason, empathy, and compassion in order to live an ethical and meaningful life, you're probably a humanist. Information for blah, blah, blah. And I've referenced secular humanists in many, many videos. Okay? I don't think I have to explain to any of you. I would hope that I don't. That there's a connection between feminism and the feminist perspective of psychology. Okay? I don't think I have to explain to any of you that humanism and the humanist perspective of psychology are pretty much the same fucking thing. This is how these people view this science. From their biased fucking point of view. And psychology is the culmination. It is the amalgamation. It is the combination of these different perspectives. Behavioral psychology, cognitive psychology, functional psychology, so on and so forth. You know, neurological, so on and so forth. So, well, what does it mean? You might ask. Well, why am I bringing this up? Oh. Sorry, I just checked my message. Why am I bringing this up? Really? Okay, let's look at this, okay? First of all, let's look at the opposition view, which is pretty much something like this, if they're going to say that I'm wrong. People don't team up together in politics to take schools of thought and people on. That's not how it works. The Democratic Party doesn't exist. I mean, that's pretty much what they would have to say in order to say that I'm wrong. Atheism, communism, humanism go hand in hand. If somebody is going to say, you know, Stalin would have said he's a humanist. He would have said, look, I'm doing this for society. And he did build a lot of things. Look up all the achievements Stalin did. And some of them are still around, still helping the Russian people to this day. But he still killed more fucking people than pretty much anyone in history. Anyway. So basically we have the perspectives of the biggest killers in history in mental health. And mental health is a bunch of eugenicists on record and New World Order scum. If you're in mental health and you don't stress that these are the philosophies of the oppressor, of the people who have killed the most people, then you couldn't possibly be a good person. We all know how they're mixing mindfulness and aspects of Buddhism into psychology. And who are the top two killers? Stalin, a secular humanist / communist, and Mao, a Buddhist / communist. And since he's a communist, you could argue that he's a secular humanist as well. It gets kind of tricky. Also, he doesn't believe in God, so technically he's a religious atheist. Tricky, isn't it? So, what does this mean for society? It means that the most profitable industry is anti-Christian. The majority of Americans don't even know that their family values, their traditional values, their personal values, their cultural values are at odds with mental health. And we're not talking about the functional perspective of psychiatry, though we may, the humanist perspective of psychology, even though we may as well be, because psychiatry describes mental disorders as psychological disorders. So they're building on secular humanistic philosophies. New World Order philosophies, Jungian, Freudian philosophies, Pavlov, Skinner type philosophies. So some of you are dumb enough to ask me, well, if communism, wants to redistribute the wealth, well, I guess it's not that dumb of a question, but it's important I cover this time and time again so people get that. So whenever anyone asks them, they're not stumped. They're like, wait, what did Emeka say about that? I forgot. I want you all to know this very well. These people support communism because they control the secret societies that run the system. So if the system runs every aspect of your life, they have more control over your life, not less. They have more control over who gets what job, not less. The people who run secret societies will then openly run the fucking world, basically, if you live in a global communist world. Okay? So, the humanist perspective of psychology is a major perspective. The feminist perspective is a major perspective. They both have everything to do with communism, everything to do with atheism. Not all feminists are atheists. But more feminists are disproportionately atheists. And then there's Wiccans and Satanists and so on and so forth. You starting to see what I'm saying yet? We have before us an opportunity to bring in a new fucking world order under secret society dogs. A world in which the rule of law, not the rule of the jungle, will run society. So let's look at this. Okay, let's truly grasp this. They took the idea of Satan and they made it synonymous with basically African philosophy. Num. Okay? This one guy's name I forgot. The Upper Egypt version of Num, another ram-headed deity. The Igbo Ikenga, Eliphas Levi, who in the 1850s, remember, the British had colonized Igbo land in Nigeria in the 1700s. In the 1850s, 150 fucking years or so later, Levi came out with his book where he drew the Baphomet as a goat. Okay, but we know before that it was the Hyksos. So we know the Hyksos had gotten this ancient African idea, and they migrated with it, perhaps, to the Middle East. And then they came back, still having this idea. Okay? But the Egyptians already had a deity of their own that was ram-headed. Okay? So this is an ancient African idea. So if you're going to demonize a people, you look at what they believe. Now, what is the relevance, some of you might ask, between the Igbos and so on? Igbos are one of the biggest tribes in Africa. Okay? Think about it. Nigeria is the most populated country in Africa, and Igbo is one of the 3 largest tribes in Nigeria. And probably would have been larger if there wasn't for the Nigerian Civil War killing 2 million of them or so. Think about this. African Americans are disproportionately Nigerian, especially Igbo. Igbo Lele or something like that is one of the national fucking songs of Haiti, if I'm not mistaken. So, what do you think was going on here? They demonized black people as the devil. The devil is real, but they twisted it to suit their global agenda because that's what secret society pagan dogs do. I like that idea. I like that idea of demonizing them. That's what they did. Okay? Let's look at the earliest human remains, I believe, in Nigeria were about 13,000 years ago. Nigerians as a people are somewhat Nigerians as a culture, their cultures there are somewhat Johnny-come-lately, just like natives and Semitics, etc., etc. Well, just like pretty much every culture of the world pretty much is a Johnny-come-lately culture. There was cultures before that. That was the foundation of all cultures. So before 13,000 years ago, well, where were these people? Well, where were they? Oh, that's right. They were in the Middle Belt, or they were in Northeast Africa. So what Igbos are, they are the combination, they are the confederacy of tribes that migrated south. South-south, southeast, and southwest. Okay? I don't think I need to explain that. When we look at the Human Genome Project and the DNA, they pretty much show these, these certain haplogroups that came this way, and it pretty much goes along with everything I've been saying for quite some time now. And of course, when we look at the, what was that place I referenced? DNA maps or DNA tribes. Okay, they said, well, these ancient Egyptian pharaohs, match African Great Lakes, they match West Africa, and the number one match was South Africa. Okay, the desertification of Egypt was, I believe, 5,000 years ago, which takes you to the first dynasties of Egypt. Okay? The Old Kingdom. Narmer and them, Jajet-Jen, and so on and so forth. Khufu, and Zoger, and so on. And Sneferu, and so on and so forth. So, what happened? The original inhabitants of North Africa were used to tropical, if not agrarian type of landscape, agriculture friendly, fertile soils. Besides the Nile's inundation, they were used to more moisture in the soil. So where did they go? Did they go to the fucking desert because they were used to more moisture in the soil? No, they fucking didn't. Perhaps they crossed the fucking sea. Perhaps they crossed the fucking ocean. Or perhaps they went to the most logical places. South. Southwest. So you had the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. You had the sea fucking peoples. You know what? That's all I really want to say on this video. I'm going to leave it there. Okay? To make a long story short, the humanist perspective proves beyond any doubt that mental health is a conspiracy against religion. And if you don't get that, show me the Christian perspective. No, I'm going to put this in here. Christian perspective of psychology. Let's see what we get. Before I even finish Christian perspective, it gets on gay marriage, on yoga, on abortion, on homosexuality. On psychology doesn't even come up. That's a sign right there. Wow. There is no official Christian perspective of psychology. Well, Mecca, why not? Because psychology is run by a bunch of satanic fucking atheist scum. Atheistic Satanists. Okay? Who are fucking communists, feminists, secular humanists, secular dogs. Materialistic filth. Because the people in charge don't like how religion makes them look like a bunch of greedy bitches, which they are. They don't like that. They want to say, oh, we're just naturally superior and, there's no God. It's just nature that created us superior and, nothing should stop you from kissing our fucking ass and wishing you were us. And then we're going to pretend that we care for you, so we want to fucking, redistribute the wealth of our enemies, and the questionnaires. Let me tell you this. There's one. I'm almost out of time. One last question I want to address real quick. They'll say, "Well, Mecca, why do they ask questions that screen out occultists? Because occultists aren't allowed to talk about what goes on in the occult. So if they're answering those types of questions on a fucking mental health psych exam, then fucking they're like, good, you deserve to be discredited because you should have kept your mouth shut." First of all, I'd like to point out that nobody has all the answers. With all the research I've done, you know, there's still things that I have failed to mention in my videos. When looking at other documentaries, I've come across the Fabian Society time and time again. Today, while talking to a white nationalist who I'm attempting to interview, I've asked him, I'm waiting for his response, I came across the Fabian Society, and I decided to look it up. Well, you know, again, this is Wikipedia, Fabian Society Coat of Arms. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. That, my friends, on record, is a wolf in sheep's clothes, the old coat of arms for the Fabian Society. There were 3 generations of Fabian societies. They have put together dictators. Awolowo, one of the people whose family is partially to blame for the Nigerian Civil War and how it played out. Again, he's not as much to blame as other players, but he's partially to blame. He was a member of the Fabian Society. These people pushed ideas of, you know, let me just show you how bad this is, okay? Because you got to see it for yourself. I could tell you the history, but let's just cut to the bull, you know, cut to the chase, you know. There's no bull, actually, just cut to the chase. Well, the bull is what they're talking about, okay? Fabian Society's members advocated the ideal of a scientifically planned society and supported eugenics by way of sterilization, okay? Intellectual justification for the eugenics policy that led to the Stolen Generations scandal. The Guardian did a, you know, article on it. All right, so socialists, eugenics, and psychiatry go hand in hand. If you do not get that, you are out of touch. Okay? Socialists, social democrats, communists. Marx said on record that communists have teamed up in his lifetime with social democrats in France in the Communist Manifesto. Let me tell you something even more disturbing than all that stuff. The membership. April 2009, the Society's website stated that it had 6,286 members. Fabian national membership now stands at a 35-year high. It is over 20% higher than when the Labour Party came into office in May 1997. I mean, you can't make this shit up. You see all these communists who pretend, oh, women's rights, well, they're supporting a bunch of eugenicists and big fucking pharma on record. I'm sick of you people pretending I'm not right. Humanist dogs, feminist dogs, communist, Marxist, social democrat dogs, eugenics. Watch the documentary Ma'afa, which is done by a bunch of black Republican-seeming people. They're telling the truth. Eugenics and socialism, such views on socialism, inequality, and eugenics amongst 20th century Fabians was not a phenomenon limited to one individual group of people. These were widely shared through a broad political spectrum. I mean, come on, you can't make this shit up, especially when you're showing a motherfucker on a fucking encyclopedia. Let's look at the references. Say, well, it's Wikipedia. Well, let's look at the references. Manchester University Press, Cambridge University Press, Fabian Essays on Socialism, the Fabian Society, Its Early History, George Bernard Shaw, Fabian Society. I mean, you can't make this shit up. Not with these references. New Yale University Press, From Radicalism to Socialism. I mean, come on, people. When are you gonna get it? There are a bunch of eugenicist dogs in psychiatry who are influenced by think tanks for the New World Order, whether it's the Rockefeller Group, the Fabian Society, the Pilgrim Society, the Trilateral Commission, the CFR, the Round Table Group, the Bilderbergs, the Grovers. I mean, come on, people. Don't you see what's going on here? They're killing everybody. Don't be surprised when the people... No. Let's read this part before I finish my sentence, then I'll say it. Okay, because I want to wrap this up properly. All female members of the Fabian Society are also members of the Fabian Women's Network. Oh, I'm touched. Oh, feminist Fabians. Oh, gosh, they love us so much. I don't know what I'm going to do with all this love. This group has its own elected chair and executive committee, which organizes conferences and events and works with the wider political movement to secure increased representation for women in politics and public life. It has a flagship mentoring program that recruits on an annual basis, and its president is Seema Malhotra, a Labour Party and cooperative MP. Remember when I did that video? Some of you who, Benito might remember. I did this video about this black female MP for the Labour Party, and she was a feminist, and she said on record that feminists are to blame for breaking down the family. Matter of fact, I'm gonna pull that up before this is done. Okay. See, Women's Labour MP, feminism to blame. Let's see, maybe it'll finish it for me. How feminism is to blame for breakdown of the family. Daily Mail, January 3rd, 2013. So I probably did this article probably back in 2013. It's been a while. Okay. In this article, you should look it up yourself because I don't want to waste too much time trying to find the part. She says flat out that we used to say that a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Somewhere in this article. That has stuck with me all this fucking time. Okay? I mean, come on, people. They're eugenicists. Okay? How can you be a humanist and be a fucking eugenicist? I mean, come on. Come on. Come the fuck on. I'm sick of this shit.